Yes, good morning to everyone. So recently, for the first time in India, G20 summit was held in India, in New Delhi. So let us understand its significance, what is its historical background, and what are the highlights of the recent 18th G20 summit. The recent G20 summit is the 18th one. So let us understand the highlights of it and how it is a diplomatic success. It is a diplomatic success for India because most of the countries like Russia and China, they have objected to the language used in the final declaration. In the final declaration, Russia and China did not want to use the Ukraine war. They did not want to mention the Ukraine war or any such language, but finally India forged consensus. It means all the countries accepted, including China, Russia, every country accepted, the Western Bloc also. So clearly it is a diplomatic success for India. So let us understand the significance of G20 summit today, right? So do subscribe and share the video. So let us begin the class without delay. So we all know that the theme of this G20 summit is one earth, one family, one future, right? Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or one earth. That is, we have only one planet earth, so it is our responsibility to conserve the natural resources for our future generations. That is sustainable development. Similarly, it's one family, right? So geographically, we have national boundaries. We have Indians, British, Americans, Russians. We have national boundaries, but the global challenges like climate change, terrorism, and so on, they have no national boundaries. It transcends national boundaries. That is why we need to consider ourselves as one family. One family, so our future is integrated. Something happened in China or America or British, definitely it does impact everyone as a global citizen, right? So it is our collective responsibility to conserve this planet Earth so that we can secure our family and future. So let us begin first the background, historical background of G20 summit. So the G20 was first formed in 1999. It was formed in 1999, particularly in the backdrop of Asian financial crisis. It was happened in 1997 in Asian financial crisis, particularly East Asia, and it got originated in Thailand. Let us not go into the details of it, but the thing is, if there is a financial crisis, we need to integrate. Once the countries are all integrated, then the crisis, the impact of the crisis is going to down. We can reduce the impact of it if you are more integrated. If you are more integrated, we can face that particular crisis collectively. So that is why G20 was formed, to promote economic cooperation, or have a joint framework, global framework, so that financial stability is ensured. Around the world. So the point is, G20 objective is to have a economic cooperation. All the countries, all the G20 countries, in fact within G20 there is a developing countries, developed countries also, we will see the members. So the objective is economic cooperation, right? Financial stability. That's what the objective of G20. And if you look at the members of G20, you know, first this is the G7. This is the G7, that is Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK, and United States of America. So these 7 countries are also part of G20. That is a G7. That is an exclusive block of developed countries. G7 is a developed countries block, and Russia is not a part of G7. It was in fact boycotted. So Russia is a part of G8, we can say, and after Russia there is Argentina, Australia, and after Australia it is Brazil. It's not visible, it is Brazil. So the point is, questions can be, for example, I have a question: is the UAE part of G20? UAE, United Arab Emirates. Answer is no. UAE is not part of G20, though it is a special invite. UAE came to the recent G20 summit, happened in Delhi, but it is a special invitee, not a member of G20. Similarly, Singapore, Netherlands, Bangladesh, though they are not members of G20, they are special invitees of the recently held G20 summit. Such type of questions are frequently asked. Which of the countries are G20 members, right? Singapore, Netherlands, they are not part of G20. Do remember this point. Saudi Arabia is a member of G20. Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Indonesia, and in all these countries, some countries did not attend directly. They have sent some deputy or like that. For example, China. You all know Xi Jinping did not attend. Similarly, Russia. Russia's Putin also did not attend. Similarly, Mexico president also did not attend. So they have sent their deputies, right? So let us understand the highlights. What are the highlights of recent 18th G20 summit? The biggest we need to see is Global Biofuel Alliance. We all know that India is known for International Solar Alliance. India is known for Coalition for Disaster Resilience Initiative, right? Coalition for Disaster Resilience Infrastructure. So both were initially started by India itself. They were spearheaded by India itself. Now another international organization, that is Global Biofuel Alliance, was launched in the recently G20 summit. So if you look at the G20 summit, biofuel, what is biofuel? Biofuel means we can derive renewable energy. We can derive renewable energy because we all know that the whole world depends on fossil fuels, and fossil fuels are responsible for greenhouse gas emissions. So we need alternative fuels. We need alternative fuels to reduce the dependency of fossil fuels. So one such alternative is biofuels, energy transition. It's a part of energy transition, biofuel. So biofuel is a renewable energy. It is a renewable energy derived from agricultural waste, or derived from sugarcane, or derived from stubble burning. So we all know that in winter in Punjab or in Haryana, because of stubble burning, air pollution is caused in New Delhi or most of the parts of North India, New Delhi. So because of stubble burning, so if that stubble is not burnt and if it is used as a biomass, to generate energy, then it's a part of Global Biofuel Alliance. Getting the point, right? So there are many initiatives like National Biofuel Policy 2018. Similarly, Samardh initiative is there, right? So Gobardhan scheme is also there as a part of biofuel, to promote biofuel within India. Similarly, in India, we have a target of ethanol blending. Ethanol blending in petrol, we have already crossed 10% target. In petrol, we have already crossed the 10% target of ethanol blending, and we are moving towards the 20% ethanol blending target. We are moving towards the ethanol blending target. Now, if we have a biofuel alliance internationally, we have a access to technology, that is technology transfer, capital funding also from developed countries, right? And this is a part of circular economy. You know, right? Circular economy, 3R principle: reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Some people are also adding a remanufacture, refurbish also, but at least stick to 3R only: reduce, reuse, recycle. Circular economy. Circular economy, because we all know that our resources are limited. So we need to use the resources in a judicious manner, in an optimum manner. So circular economy is the need of the hour, right? So that is why people say it is waste to wealth approach. It's an approach of waste to wealth. So, and we need the coordination of all the countries of global to promote this Global Biofuel Alliance. This is the first initiative, most important initiative launched as a part of recently held G20 summit. And the second important highlight is African Union. African Union recently added as a member of G20. Recently added. So the point is here, please listen. If you look, we are all talking about Global South, voice of Global South. If you look at many organizations, international organizations, the Global South is not represented. It means the voice is not heard properly. The representatives are not there. It means by including African Union as a member of G20, we are making G20 more representative, more equitable, more inclusive, right? More representative, more equitable, and more inclusive by adding African Union as a member of G20, right? So it is also a significant thing for India. For India to add African Union as a member of G20. Earlier there is an European Union, now it is African Union also added, right? So next highlight is democratization. So please listen, almost for 1 year, India held G20 summits across 60 cities, throughout India. It means not only New Delhi, the G20 important conference of finances or tourism, they were held throughout the India. It can be Chennai, it can be Bangalore, it can be Pune, it can be Kashmir. It means throughout India, the summits of G20 were held before this Mind Summit. That is September 9-10 is the main summit, and before that almost many such conferences were held throughout India. So it represents a democratization, right? It represents a democratization. Not only New Delhi, all the cities across India deserves the due place, deserves the recognition. That is about democratization. This is also the first time. No such country has ever done this before, right? That is a democratization process as a part of G20. And fourth important is climate change financing. Because climate change means we are all witnessing extreme weather events, that is heat waves, floods. Their frequency and intensity is rising like anything. Frequency and intensity of heat waves, floods and droughts is increasing. So we need some adaptation, mitigation mechanisms, right? So in fact, $100 billion was promised by developed countries to developing countries. $100 billion was promised by 2020, but that promise was not kept. Even today, right? So now once again developing countries are coming forward to make such commitments. Let us believe that those commitments will come into implementation, so that adaptation mitigation mechanisms are available to all countries, not only developed, even least developed countries, small island developing countries also need support, a helping hand, so that a disaster risk reduction happen. You may be knowing, seeing that disaster risk reduction, let's not get into, but one thing you need to keep in mind: women role, gender equality. So we all know that if a climate change happens, water shortage or something, climate change, drinking water shortage happened, definitely mother or woman is going to bear disproportionate burden. We all know this, right? They are going to have more burden because they are the people who fetch drinking water, right? So the point is here, women, the role of women in the decision making of climate change financing. The role of women in the climate change financing has to be included, right? That's why it means we are making the decision making process more inclusive, more consensus oriented, more representative, right? By including the voice of women in the climate change financing process. In fact, there is a particular words are saying gender equality and environmental goals. They are mutually reinforcing. And they help in the achievement of sustainable development goals, right? Gender equality and environmental goals, they always go together. They're like two sides of same coin, right? This is the fourth highlight. And the fifth highlight is cryptocurrency regulation. We all know that cryptocurrency is not regulated. In fact, in India, Indian government tries to ban the cryptocurrency. Recently, we have introduced some central bank digital currency also. We are trying to introduce. But the fact is, cryptocurrency cannot be controlled by a single country alone. We need global coordination. Global efforts are needed. Otherwise, this cryptocurrency can be used by terrorists, can be used for tax havens, money laundering purposes, right? Terrorist financing. This cryptocurrency can be used, so we need to place some safeguards against this cryptocurrency using for illegal purposes, right? That is the fifth highlight. And the sixth highlight is digital public infrastructure. So we all know that we have such a digital infrastructure like Indian Stack or Jandan Aadhaar Mobile or UPI, Unified Payment Interface. Because of using these technological initiatives, we are promoting financial inclusion. It means we are providing access of financial services even to the last mile. That is, no one is left behind. No one should be left behind. That is the motto behind digital public infrastructure, so that the whole world learns from the Indian technological initiatives. It can be JAM, Jandan Aadhaar Mobile, or UPI, Unified Public Interface, or any other technological initiatives, right? So because we're all living in an age of a digital age, so digital revolution is ushering like anything. And the most important of the G20 summit is economic corridor, that is a multi-billion dollar mega infrastructure connectivity project, right? A mega infrastructure connectivity project was launched as a part of G20 summit. That is India, Middle East Economic Corridor. India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. Let us understand this IMEE corridor, and many people are saying it is a counter to Belt and Road Initiative of China. It's a counter to Belt and Road Initiative of China, but I disagree with them. I disagree with them because it's not like that. Because in Belt and Road Initiative, the whole Chinese companies are involved. The whole Chinese companies are involved in the construction of infrastructure. But in this economic corridor, IMEE corridor, it is a collaborative effort. It's not only India, it can be Saudi Arabia, it can be UAE, it can be Israel, it can be Italy. All the countries are coming together and they are showing their advantages. It can be money, it can be technology, it can be people. So there is a collaborative effort in this connectivity project. So in fact, I2U2 project. I2U2? I2U2 means India, Israel, US and UAE. Right? India, Israel, US and UAE was announced recently. Now many people are saying this corridor is the next step. This corridor is the next step or successor of I2U2. Is the next step or successor of I2U2. This India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. And we all know that if you look at this map, just look at this India through Mumbai, we can go to this UAE and Saudi Arabia and Jordan, and Jordan to Saudi Arabia to Levant Basin. In the Eastern Mediterranean, there is a Levant Basin is there, is not visible here, and then we can connect Italy, Germany, right? The point is here, we are connecting India to the west. We are connecting India to the west so that we can promote trade, investment, people to people ties, and so on. It's a commerce, it's a business deal, it's an economics, right? Because we all know that India, even today also, it depends on Iraq, Saudi Arabia for crude oil. So we need a strong ties, economic ties. Once economic ties are there, definitely the geopolitics is going to be driven in a different direction. If politics is not working, then do economics. If politics is not working, then do economics. That's what Israel is also included. But do remember, sir, UAE is not a part of G20. UAE is not a member of G20, but UAE is a member of this economic corridor. UAE or Israel, right? So do remember this point. UAE is not a part of G20, but it is a part of economic corridor. This economic corridor, India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, similarly is the case with Jordan also. So the next and the last highlight of this G20 summit is multilateral development banks. We all know that we have World Bank, we have International Monetary Fund, but India and other developing countries, they are looking for reforms. United Nations also, they're looking for reforms. Why reforms is needed? Because their voice is not represented. The developing countries' voice is not represented. Similarly, if you look at World Bank, their lending capacity, World Bank lending capacity to the poor countries or least developing countries is very limited. The lending capacity is very limited. That is why America also, United States of America also increased the lending capacity of World Bank recently so that the needs and aspirations of developing countries are addressed by bringing in reforms in multilateral development banks. So reforms in multilateral development banks is also an agenda of the recent G20 summit, right? So Global Biofuel Alliance we have seen, this corridor also we have seen, and this African Union becomes permanent member of G20. So African Union, other than it, there's a European Union also. Anyway, some people called it may be called G21 also, but anyway, no such change. G20 as G20 only, though there are 21. G20 only, right? So let us see the Delhi Declaration or way forward. The way forward is simple. India has shown the middle path policy to the whole world, because most of the scholars said Russia and China, they are blocking the final draft. Russia and China is blocking or objecting the final draft, particularly on the language used on Ukraine. So many people doubted whether we are going to have a declaration or not, because Russia and China are objecting. But thanks to India, G20 Sherpas like Amitabh Kant, because they finally forged consensus. It means all the countries, including China, Russia, G7 countries, all countries accepted. They came on the table by keeping aside all their differences, by keeping aside their differences. So definitely this is a diplomatic success by forging consensus among all the members, and hence it reflects our maturity. Our foreign policy has matured, right? So definitely it is the soft policy, right? The soft policy means we are negotiations, deliberations, right? Negotiations, deliberations always work when there is a political dialogue. When there is a political dialogue, when you sit and talk to each other in a convincing manner, in an empathetic manner, definitely things works if you understand the other people through empathy, right? That's what the